Thank you guys for coming back once again. We've had 2 weeks off, Sohan, and we brought you another person. And the burning question today is, why are you called Moose? Moose from Andalusia.
It's because I'm a big guy. I mean, obviously.
Obviously.
No, it's linked to my days as a musician. I was in a band that may or may not have been called Moose Knuckle, and it was supposed to be a comedy band when it started out. And this was somewhere around 2004, 2006, somewhere around there. And the first time anybody ever showed up to practice, the guitar player was like, "Moose?" I was like, "No." And then it just stuck. Every time we played on stage, "This is Moose."
So it's like,
and then that followed me for 15 years or so. Here we are.
So which one is Pink? Which one is Moose? From Andalusia Distilling. Sohan, you got some tea for us today?
Absolutely. I don't get the Pink reference, but I'm going to let it go.
Pink Floyd.
Oh, God. Which one's Pink?
Which one's pink?
Okay, okay. Deep cut. But all right. Welcome, Moose. Thank you for making the drive. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, you know, we love when people don't know anything about this tea stuff because then I get to talk about it. So, you asked me about my tea pet before we started filming, which
yes.
I chose a cow in your honor. It's not a moose, but it is an ungulate, so I chose a little cow here. These are called tea pets, and you saw me pouring water on it. The purpose of pouring water on the tea pet is just that you're pouring the water anyways, and so it's just a cute little dude to pour it on, and that's literally their whole purpose. The longer story is that when we serve tea in this way, we want to warm everything up first. Just like when you're cooking food, you don't want to put food into a cold pan. You know, you heat up the pan before you put the food in. So we want to heat up the vessels before we make the tea. And here, actually, I'll let you see the tea first. Let that guy get warmed up. And in the process of heating up the teaware and then eventually rinsing the tea, we pour out a lot of water and a little bit of actual tea. And since we're pouring it out anyways, might as well pour it on a little cow. And the longer story is that these tea pets are made out of the same types of clay, unglazed stoneware, that, for example, this teapot is made out of. And they absorb the color of the tea. The teapot absorbs the flavor of the tea. So this is dedicated. This is a red tea that we're about to drink. Okay. I only make red tea in this teapot. So it's like a cast iron pan. It's got a patina. Yeah. It's got years and years of patina on this one. It gets a lot of use because it's a tea house teapot. Yeah, thank you. And the tea pets are made of the same type of clay. You can see the staining on this. Mm-hmm. So you can see this pot's nice, got a nice patina, nice stain on it. The tea pets stain also, but because you don't drink anything from them, you can pour all the teas on them. So this one might get used once every couple of days. If I'm making red tea, you know, I use it. But this cow, I could put that on my tea set and he's getting tea all the time. Nice. It's getting dark really fast. And that's really their deal. You've got a tortoise over there. We've got Chanshu the moon toad over here. And I'm just gonna warm everything up. This is my red tea teapot. It's called a dragon egg is the name of that shape. And it's not a miniature teapot. That's just how big they are because we're not making brewed coffee, we're making espresso. You know what I'm saying? Okay. We use little cups, we use little vessels. We're making a strong, concentrated infusion, not a big dilute infusion. We're not trying to consume a bunch of water. We're trying to get the character of the tea.
Gotcha.
So I'll let you smell this. This is new. We just got this. This is called Autumn Moon. This is a wild red tea from Sichuan, from a master named Heng Yi, Tea Master Heng Yi, tea farmer Heng Yi. He's not even really, I mean, he is a tea farmer, but this isn't farmed tea. This is wild tea. So he harvests this out of the woods, and then he processes it, and he's awesome. I've known him for more than a decade, and he's just a really, really talented tea master.
Now my frog's got a coin in his mouth. Is there significance to the coin in the frog's mouth?
So that's Chanshu. He's probably the most popular subject for tea pets at the moment, and he's a character from Chinese mythology. He's a moon toad, and he's got 3 legs because you don't need 4 legs when you're on the moon to hop. You can hop with just 1 leg on the back because it's you know, so much less gravity. I'll add a little bit more. And he was the pet of one of the 8 immortals, these mythological figures in Chinese lore. And one day he fell down a well. Chanshu fell down a well, the toad. And in order to get him back, his master tied a coin to a string, because Chinese coins have holes in the middle. And being from the moon, Chanshu is attracted to round, gold, shiny things. And so he bit onto the coin, and he wouldn't let go. And Liu Hai, his master, was able to haul him up out of the well like a fish, just reel him up out, chomping on this coin. And so he represents holding on to wealth, gaining and not losing wealth. So gaining wealth and not letting it go. So the Chinese are really into him for that reason. And so that's like the extra little layer to a tea pet. What does the cow mean? Well, it means the year of the ox and everything that goes along with that. There's a bajillion things that come along with the year of the ox. So, you see it on your placemat at the Chinese restaurant. The tortoise represents long life. Chanshu represents wealth. So they have their little symbolism, but they're not like gods. They're not super serious. They're just kind of fun little things, and they're just to be enjoyed.
Wow, every time we do this, there's like another little piece of the story that comes in there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sohan. That's so much fun.
And then I'll let you go ahead and smell this. You went ahead, you smelled it when it was dry, right?
Mm-hmm.
You smelled it when it was cold? Go ahead and let you smell it now that's warmed up a little bit. It opens up, you get more fragrance out of that.
Moose, do you do this with the grains when they come into the distillery?
We taste and smell everything, whether we should or not.
And I do mean everything.
we have picked questionable crusts off the outside of barrels, and sometimes it works in your favor. More often than not, it does not. But it's for experience, and
Right.
I'm full of that.
Well, I'm curious. You're looking at a barrel. You see some questionable crust. What possible utility does this crust have? What is it? A, and B, why would you taste it? What benefit could it possibly have to taste it?
Okay, so in particular, we got some barrels from which I have harvested rum and brought here today that were originally Jack Daniel's barrels, and then they were Long Pond barrels, and then they were maple syrup barrels. So by the time I got them, the wood was so infused with maple syrup and other, I guess, wood sugars that were dissolved by the alcohol over time that had seeped out. There were stalactites kind of hanging off of this thing that were all crystally, and they looked like they should taste good. They were on the outside of a barrel that had been in a shipping yard and wrapped in plastic and any number of things. People had walked on it. So it tasted very much like that.
It didn't taste like maple syrup, is what you're saying. Okay.
Now, contrary-wise, we had a barrel that had, it was a rum barrel that we put bourbon into, and it was seeping out the sides. And that was actually a focus of the tour, was actually putting your fingers on the tarry substance that was seeping on the sides. And it was wonderful.
It usually smells great and looks cool. It's always super tannic and bitter, though.
Yeah, don't taste it.
That's another thing. And that's one of those things, it doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this. I'm like, oh, wow, that one's really pushing out some goo. Still tastes bad,
That's a fascinating impulse. That's a fascinating response to seeing goo seeping out of something to want to taste it. But
I didn't have it until I was a distiller. I definitely didn't have it as a plumber in my early work career.
A lot of plumbers in the distilling business. What is with that?
It goes hand in hand. There's pipes and, really the whole job is moving liquid from one container to the other.
That's true.
Very much like yours.
You're right. That is my whole job. Before you taste it, I'm going to give you one more smell of the rinsed leaves. And I didn't actually rinse this tea. This is a fresh 2024 tea. It's a very tender little tea, so I don't feel like we need to rinse it. But usually we'd rinse it and give it to our tea pets. And then when we taste it, you're going to smell it, slurp it, and then after you swallow, you can exhale through your nose. Yeah, the exhale through the nose is a good one on this. This is a wild tea.
Yeah, there's like a orange note to it.
Yeah, maybe not orange the fruit, orange the color.
Orange fruit, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, orange fruit, like the pulp inside the orange.
I have trouble getting tasting notes out of this tea. It's very all one flavor, but I like it. And this is a wild tea. It's a red tea. I mentioned that I only use this teapot for red teas. Red tea is what we call black tea.
Okay.
So there's 6 types of tea, and I guess the preface for this is when we say tea here, we don't just mean whatever in hot water. It's one particular plant, the tea plant. Just like coffee is a plant or tobacco is a plant, right? Camellia sinensis, the tea plant. So that's what makes this make sense for a lot of folks, because they come in here and they're like, I like hibiscus tea, I like chamomile tea. Those are great, but they're not tea. They don't have any tea in them. You know?
Right.
And when it's just like whiskey or rum or something else, you know, if you're looking at too broad of a subject, talking about all liquors at the same time is a lot less interesting than focusing on one and getting into the nuances of it. Tea is the same way. You can't really have a culture around all the different herbs that exist in the world. That's not something that you can really develop. But this one particular plant has been subject to so much horticulture and craft and poetry and art and development and history going back thousands of years. So it's a whole thing, just like rum's a thing, whiskey's a thing, wine's a thing, beer's a thing. We just don't have access to it because it's from China.
Yeah.
And it's not for us, it's for the Chinese. You know, unlike, you know, they grow coffee in Colombia, but the people who grow the coffee drink like Nescafe. They don't know about like fancy coffee. Because they're post-colonial people who are basically, you know, selling to these colonial powers, and so they're just got this cash crop they live off. But in China, the best tea in China stays in China. The second best tea in China also stays in China. You know, it's all for the Chinese market. They're not producing it for a foreign market, and so it's very remote from us. We don't have access to it the way we do with things like whiskey. You know,
Is this why you have to develop relationships with the farmers and go to the source to get product?
Yeah, absolutely. These people don't have websites, they don't have email addresses, you know what I mean? They don't have brands, they don't have marketing, they don't have social media, they don't have any of that stuff. They're just farmers in the mountains. They're not even like, you can't even farm this on flat land. You've got to go up in the mountains, which is pretty remote to grow tea. Go ahead and smell your empty cup. Now that you've got that last sip, smell your empty cup and then kind of wave the cup around and let it cool and evaporate a little bit and then smell it again. This is one of the things I like about working with people who are into whiskey and rum and all those different things, is because they've got really finely attuned sense of smell.
So it's a little earthy and mushroomy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not terribly. Not like so we have a restaurant on site now, and they get fresh mushrooms. In a box of freshly harvested fungus, it's like, this is potent, man.
Yeah.
This is like you showed us a picture of that box. It's not really mushroomy, but that's the closest thing I can equate.
Maybe
with.
wafted at you a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's an earthiness about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, we can, if you like that kind of thing, we've got earthy, very, very, very earthy teas that we can do. And I'm going to do this next round, and I'll let you taste that before we move on to the rum?
Yes.
Yeah, rum. Yeah. And just so you can see, the whole idea of doing it this way as opposed to doing it in a big pot is that it gives us control and it gives us precision. And the tea, the whole leaf teas, they're not like what's in a tea bag. What's in a tea bag is dust. It's all surface area.
Right.
It immediately will just infuse everything it's got out into the water. But a whole tea leaf is this hydrophobic, you know, dry thing. And it doesn't just open right up. It takes multiple steepings. You rinse it once, it opens a little bit, and opens a little more, opens a little more. Okay. Every steeping that you do is getting more and more open. And it's not until it can fully expand, by the time we're done, it's going to be real full of leaves. It's until it's fully expanded, it hasn't been able to give all of its flavor and its fragrance. And so the progression from one steeping to the next is part of the pleasure of doing tea this way. You get a much more three-dimensional view of the tea because you're trying all these different snapshots of it in different stages of its evolution. And we'll sit around and do this for hours, and that's basically what we do here. That's our deal.
Super cool.
And there's we got 200 something different teas here. And those aren't flavors, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not
like
just
different.
it's not like cherry and chocolate. This is like different
So
breeds,
the species of teas, do they do anything neat to them, like dry them in different methods to change the flavors or ferment the leaves? Or...
yeah, nailed it. Absolutely.
Okay.
You got 6 types of tea. You've got unoxidized tea. We call that green tea. You've got fully oxidized tea. We call that red tea. In America, we call it black tea, but here we call it red tea because that's what the Chinese call it. You got partially oxidized tea that can be either yellow tea if it's very slightly oxidized, or oolong tea if it's between like 20 and 90% oxidized. And that's usually roasted with charcoal also. Then you've got white tea, which is raw, sun-dried, not cooked. All the other ones usually get cooked at some point.
Okay.
And that stops the oxidation. So white tea has this uncontrolled oxidation. It starts off fresh. It will oxidize over the course of about 7 years, and it ages and matures and gets better over the course of that 7 years. And then you've got heichas, which literally means black tea, but it's not what we call black tea. It's the fermented teas, and there's lots of those, and they are fermented. They're fermented less like a mash fermenting in alcohol and more like a cigar fermenting in a humidor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And then, of course, you're going to have regionalities.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you've got like pu'er, for example, is a type of tea that can only be made in Yunnan. If you make it outside of Yunnan, it's not pu'er, and that goes for a lot of these different things. Yeah.
Armagnac, champagne.
Yeah.
Right,
All of them.
exactly.
Scotch,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
Yeah. Now, to what you were saying earlier, you were talking about people coming up and saying, here, smell this, or here, taste this. In the restaurant business, when I worked in the restaurant business, it was like, throw it away. If you have to come to me and say, hey, smell this, there's something wrong.
I don't want to smell it. Yeah, so I get that at the house. You know, the wife or the kids are like, Dad, smell this milk. I'm like, I'm not smelling that, man. If you think it's bad, don't drink it.
And for me, Moose is my, hey, you got to try this. And it's like, this is weird, this is strange, this is different.
That's a different type of game than hey,
Then
smell
here,
this.
is this gone bad?
Yeah, is this chunky jug of milk good anymore? No, that's cottage cheese.
So you did bring something weird.
Yeah, jug of cottage cheese.
Yes.
All right, break it out, yeah.
So we've been talking about funk and funky stuff, and your best word, hogo.
Hogo, love that word.
Ogo. Yeah. What
So-
is it? You know, everybody's got a different explanation. If you look it up, certain definitions you'll see online are the unidentifiable stench of death.
Okay, cool. I like that. That's metal. You know, I just like the way it sounds, and I think there's a lot of potential there. Hogomania, you know. You know, like BOGO. You can make H stand for something. Something one, get one. I don't know. Huff one, get one. I don't know. There's a lot there. I just like the word. I think it's a cool word. But I get like my understanding of it, and this is kind of like our deal is like I don't really know much about liquor in a general sense. I'm starting to know a little bit more about whiskey, and then a little bit about rum, just from doing this show and doing stuff with other whiskey people in Austin. But yeah, Richard told me it was esters from the wood.
And congeners, yes.
Congeners,
Yeah.
yes.
So these are flavor compounds that Moose is really trying to express in what he's making. He wants to have the most esters. The thing is, you can go too far, can't you, Moose?
Well, you can. I mean, if you get like the higher end of, say, Hamden, like if you get the DOK, which is their highest end of ester, it hits a point somewhere down their line. They've got 8 marks, and somewhere around mark 6 or so, those like 6, 7, and 8 are all so big and pungent that they're almost unidentifiable. There's so much flavor and scent packed into there that it almost falls flat until you add a little bit of water. And then it goes poof, and then it'll bury itself back. There's a place where you can go too far, but is there? I don't think there is.
For you, this is more of like a education and exploration as to what can happen.
As long as I produce the base white rum that goes to market and I put that in barrels, at least one of my fermenters every summer is going to go to some asinine, disturbing amount of unhinged biochemistry.
Okay, I'm here for that. That sounds cool.
Now, you got a big load of molasses last year.
Yeah, it's coming again in probably 6 to 8 weeks.
How much is that? Like a tanker?
It's a tanker truck, yeah. So, gosh, how many pounds was it? 46 or 48,000 pounds of molasses. Gallon-wise, what it ended up making me was 16,000 gallons of rum wash, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I usually tell people that it's the actual word decimate. It's to cut by 1/10. Like the nine out of every 10 will roll. That's all you end up with after you've distilled that base product is about 1/10 of what you started off with. And the other thing is
Quarter
molasses.
of a quarter. I would even go as far as say an eighth.
Yeah. So so you're not getting a lot left over.
Yeah.
Storing that molasses is very important because in Boston there was a tragedy that happened where the storage bin that they were using to hold the molasses actually ruptured. They say that to this day you can still smell molasses in Boston, in the lower parts of Boston Harbor. And that whole thing ruptured, and there was actually a flood, a tsunami of molasses. People got caught. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds terrible.
When you say slow as molasses, when it's in a flood coming out of a giant container down the hill.
So it's super, super heavy. That's something we had to look at when we started getting molasses delivered to us. Previous to getting tanker trucks, everything was coming in like 260-gallon plastic totes. And so you get them, they were really hard to hydrate and, cut the molasses down with water. But one of those little totes, just regular cube plastic tote, weighed 5,000 pounds. It was insanity. So then we got the tanker truck of molasses, and we really had to do some math, like how much does this stuff weigh and where are we going to store it? How are we going to store it? So then we started looking at the weight ratings of all our fermentation tanks. We're like, okay, well, if we fill each one of these up halfway, it doesn't exceed the weight rating. If it would have gone any more than that, the bottoms would have fallen out of those things, and it just would have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
And so is molasses usually what rum is made from, or is that one of many things?
Rum, anything from the sugarcane plant pretty much constitutes rum.
Got it.
Whether or not it's called rum in that particular country is a different story. But rum, when something is carrying that geographical identifier, like this is a rum, a Haitian rum, a whatever rum, it has to come from the sugarcane plant. It can't come from sorghum cane. While that is similar to a rum, it looks much like sugar cane.
I know what that tastes like because I lived in China and they do make liquor out of sorghum there.
Oh yeah, baijiu.
Baijiu, yeah.
Yeah. That's a different.
That is some hogo.
That's a different experience in yeast and bacterial fermentation.
Yeah, I know exactly what that's like.
And then the same way, there's people up in I think Wisconsin making rum out of beets. While it's interesting and there's lots of sugar in sugar beets and it's fermentable, it's not rum.
It's not rum.
Yeah.
What is it? It's brandy?
It's
not a fruit?
Sugar beet liquor. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like what do you call? So if you take sorghum and you take the grain from the sorghum plant and ferment that and distill it, that is a sorghum whiskey. If you take the cane syrup or the cane juice from it being crushed, that is no longer a whiskey, and that's more akin to a rum. But
it's still not rum because
in America, it would just be a distilled spirit specialty.
And in China, it would be baijiu.
At Andalusia, they actually worked with a farm. Actually, it's not really. Is it a farm or a church? In
I'm under the impression it's a little of both.
But they were growing sugarcane in, was it Mission or McAllen? It's in the valley. San Benito.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm just picturing like snake handlers or something like that.
So they did a cane juice pressing from the sugarcane that was grown in the back of this church. And are you doing that again?
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to do that. So that was about the time that I started really getting to play with production parts of Andalusia, not just showing up and sweeping floors and shoveling grain. But no, that took... Okay, let's skip back, and I won't stutter through this so much. So when they're doing agricole, right, you're going to harvest the cane, and within 24 hours, that cane's cut, it's crushed, the juice is harvested, and fermentation happens. So we went down to the valley, we harvested cane the next day, it got driven back. the day after that, we started crushing it, and then there was a whole trailer load, and our crusher was maybe yay tall. It was basically a countertop version of a cane juicer.
Right.
And so, as you can imagine, going through a trailer load of cane doesn't go that fast.
Right.
And then we couldn't put any cane bigger in the hole than this without it wearing the teeth off the gears inside this thing. So we were just jamming stuff in. You know, as hard as we could, and then a freeze happened sometime in the middle of crushing. So the cane split, got some sort of bacterial infection. Is it the worst thing in the world? No, not in my opinion. But it was never agricole like agricole is. And all that pain and suffering, and what we ended up with was a 25-gallon barrel of rum.
Brutal.
Yeah, pretty brutal, man.
That's brutal. Yeah.
So we held on to that for 4 years, and then released Texas's first bottled and bond rum. It was traumatic enough that we don't want to do that anymore. So the next round that actually came out before that bottled and bond was released was also made with cane juice, but we had ordered it from some folks in Louisiana. And cane juice is super unstable. You got to stabilize it somehow, and they do that with pH. And so to stabilize the juice that we bought, they had added different citrus juices, mainly lemon and lime juice. That comes over in distillation.
Sure.
So then you had these background fruity flavors, which weren't terrible, but they weren't fruity esters like banana and dried papaya and pineapple and the things you generally find in a rum. It was
lemon orange peel.
Yeah, it was
type
a lot more akin to like a citrusy brandy of a muscat brandy or something that's going to have bright citrus notes and floral notes, and not at all. You know, in my opinion, I think agricole is kind of like a roll of vinyl flooring at Home Depot is a big part of, which I don't mind.
Right.
That's not a bad note in my opinion. It's no, if I was getting that in whiskey, that wouldn't be the same thing. But you know, it's something that I was looking for, trying to make these agricole style rums that never really worked.
So
I have found a pretty good way to find the funk or the hogo, if you will, by just abusing molasses.
Great. They love to hear that. That's a great sentence.
The current industrial process is actually a lot better than what he was doing by hand. They used to actually, the same way with the agave, where they have large milling wheels going around crushing the cane.
Dope.
And and have a donkey going around in circles. They actually now are using like chipper shredders and centrifuges to extract all of the juice out of that cane.
Right.
So there's better processes now to get more extraction.
But you lose that donkey essence.
Too.
Yeah, that could be the argument. If is it more flavor, or is it going to be more of the off flavors, the woody flavors? Are you getting the same amount of juice, or are you trying to pull too much grassy notes out of the cane? So those can be arguments as well.
Okay, and so hogo is A, stuff that makes it through the still, B, stuff that comes from the barrel, or C, both of those things.
Fermentation is going to give you a certain amount of flavor.
Sure.
Distillation is going to take some of them away and leave some of them behind.
So depending on how you're distilling, you're going to get more or less hogo that is there. Those things are present in the mash or whatever you call it.
So we're missing the word dunder.
Dunder.
Well, so yeah, dunder and muck.
Oh, cool.
So
Muck's
your bacterial cesspools, basically. When I do it, not to give away too many secrets, but you know, when I do it, I add some really, really funky, mucky stuff during fermentation. I do it during stripping runs, and depending on how much of this flavor concentrate I really want to go for, how much hogo do I want to shove into this, sometimes I've put it into finishing runs, and it hasn't gone against me yet. We don't do that all the time because we're kind of playing with fire here, man.
Right.
in the search of Hogo and good rum, man, you know, as long as I make 20 some odd awesome barrels of rum, I'm going to experiment with one or two.
Hell yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'm
brother.
inviting you to pull something out and show us what you got.
Okay.
Hogomania.
So this came straight out of a barrel today.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Fresh.
This
This
is
is fresh tea.
Texas rum.
Hey.
It is. It says 57% alcohol. It's closer to probably 59% alcohol, 58.5, somewhere
Okay.
around there. It is 2 years old. It is aged in what is more than likely a Trelawney rum barrel. Well, not. It's definitely a Trelawney rum barrel. I am 99% sure it's a Long Pond barrel. It smells just like Long Pond. When I got it, it did anyway.
So what is Long Pond? Where is Long Pond?
They're in Trelawney, in, was it the Queens Valley? It's north central Jamaica. The only other distillery there is Hamden. And that area has a very specific wild yeasts that hang out around there that make the rum from that area of Jamaica taste like the quintessential Jamaican rum, in my opinion.
Right.
So, like you have Appleton Estates. That's most people's dipping their toe into the water for like getting funky rum, and it's nice. It's got a little bit of hogo. It whispers to you. It touches
Right.
you. It caresses you. It's easy to drink. But that flavor, I don't know what happens when you get to the other side of the island up in that valley. I don't know where fermentation goes awry, or if you could even call it that, but something happens in that valley and it's magical. And so there's other distilleries that are owned by the same people that own Long Pond, Money Musk and Clarendon, and neither one of those come close to what Long Pond tastes like, and vice versa. Long Pond doesn't taste anything like those, and they're very different styles of rum. But the only thing that I've ever found that comes close to Hamden for me is Long Pond. And definitely not Hamden barrels. But then maple syrup barrels, and then I put my high ester, heavy dunder, funky rum into it for 2 years and pulled it out right before we came here. So.
All right, let's get funky.
Have some Glencairns right in front of you there?
Yeah, because you picked this maple barrel aged rum for Richard, right? To help him because
I
you
picked
might be
it for
homesick
me.
for Canada.
Well, you know,
So
it's better than Swish, right?
Yeah. Is this the same maple that we tried when we were visiting? You had all of these maple extracts and syrups and concoctions in your fridge.
Did you try some of the maple
Yeah,
syrup?
something
Yes.
left over.
So when I got these barrels, there was a maybe, I don't know, 8 gallons of, I don't even know if it was actual syrup or if it was sap. It was pretty liquidy. So when I got it, it was very full of charcoal. But I poured it into a pot, reduced it down, and made several bottles of rum-flavored maple syrup. And
sounds
it
nice.
was probably the most amazing maple syrup I've ever had in my life. It tasted very much like this rum smells. I can pick apart where the barrel contributed flavor, what I've done to contribute flavor. But all in all, it turned into a pretty well-rounded, beautiful barrel of rum.
You know what this smells like? This smells like some expensive ass French toast. Some like French toast they set on fire by your table. You know, like this sounds like this is like some like $25 fucking French toast.
Yeah, they're like, you have to watch how close you get to this because the fumes coming off, the alcohol fumes, will burn your nose hairs. Yeah. Oh.
Not with more
Corey's
Corey's here for
creeping
the
on up
sample.
here. He heard
you like
fancy
to Glencairn,
French toast,
sir?
and he's like,
Yeah, it's fine right there.
Okay.
Oh, there's a lot going on there.
you know, I get like, you remember when you were a kid and they had those little balloons where you take the straw and you blow up the little balloon,
Yes.
you twist it off.
Balloon, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
it smells like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That's a great description.
Yeah.
Taking me back to my birthday parties in my childhood.
Yeah,
No, this is so I'm
airplane
going to
balloon,
say
yeah.
this right now. As someone who's, besides the one other rum guest who's come on this show, The only rum I've ever had in my life has just been like basic, you know, white rum, Bacardi, Captain Morgan,
Bacardi.
you know, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I never really cared about it or thought it was interesting at all. But this
Well, that's
is just
because that's
smelling
just
it.
rum flavored vodka, in
Right,
my opinion.
right.
It does come from the sugarcane plant,
Yeah.
but it's done in a big column and it's mass
Yeah.
produced. And,
It definitely doesn't have any personality. This has a lot of personality. There's a lot going on here.
well, like I said, it's a lesson in the abuse of molasses.
All right.
Leave it alone. Long hot fermentations. So, I guess to put that into perspective, a whiskey fermentation for me would be 1 week, and the the fermenting beer would never get hotter than, say, 95 degrees at max. There's times that this stuff hits 110, 112 degrees. The yeasts are happiest at 104 degrees, where whiskey yeast are happy anywhere from 60 to 90 degrees, depending on what type of yeast you're using. The rum yeast like it hot. I mean, they come from the tropics, so they do best in really, really hot temperatures, and then they kind of fizzle out pretty quick. But what's left is a whole bunch of unfermentable sugars in the molasses. So then all these different bacterias that are present in, one, the molasses that I'm using, two, that have been entered by way of muck pit or just open top fermentation, any number of ways they get in there, go to work and they start eating up all these unfermentable sugars, or at least unfermentable by yeast. And they produce acids, and that's part of the things that are really pushing the hogo and fun
Okay.
weird smells.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
I like your
Absolutely.
description about that balloon with the little straw and that, because that is really present in there.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's good. It's got a whole. I got like apple at the end. I got like apple and maybe like grape or something at the end, and it's only at the end on the exhale through the nose. And
Floral
we got a whole
perfume.
bunch of I'm getting a whole bunch of fruits actually on the end.
I get like a mixed bag of all the dried fruit that they put in trail mix bags.
Yeah.
Minus the nuts. It's just
Yeah.
like all the
mangoes
You know,
and
the
everything.
mangoes and the papaya and
Yeah.
the pineapple and the crystallized ginger, and like they just all of that just balled up and shoved into you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of those exotic papayas, the ones that have all the funny colors to them. Yeah.
Yo, also on the exhale specifically, you ever drink Hawaiian Punch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting
It's
Hawaiian
been
Punch.
maybe 25, 30 years.
There's no good reason to drink Hawaiian Punch, but I did like it when I was a kid.
Oh,
it was one of my
it was
favorites. It's hard to
awesome
find
when I was a
too,
kid.
so when I could
That
find it,
Sunny
I was all
Delight.
about it. Yeah, Sunny D. Yep.
I was always under the impression that those were good for me. Kind of like,
Because they're
just
kind of like
drinking
juice,
man.
but no, in
Yeah.
fact, they're just corn syrup and food dye.
Wow. Yeah, it evolves and goes around. It's fun.
That's
It's
nice.
a-
All right,
it's
let's
a-
try it with the tea. Let's try that. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. That's a good little pairing there.
Ooh. Yeah, the tea ends up waking up.
Yeah, you get more of the like vegetal leafy notes out of the tea.
And that orange flavor that I was getting earlier, that it just gets more rich and intense.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. It's like, and I got some new tropical fruits I wasn't getting, like pineapple. Maybe like a slightly underripe pineapple.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that too.
Ooh, like a green pineapple.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. I feel like I'm in the tropics.
Mmm.
And that's all I'm really going for when I make a rum. I no longer feel like I'm only 3 hours from the desert. Now I feel like I'm,
Now, we did reference a little bit of Jamaica, so I brought something from Jamaica, and as you can see, I don't like it very much.
that is a pretty excellent rum at a
Really good
and a
price.
really great price point.
It was
man.
like less than $30.
Yeah,
You got it in Jamaica.
I mean, I
got
like
this
Worthy
in Iowa.
Park, but all the way, Iowa by way of Jamaica.
There you go. But this is going to give you some of that Jamaican funk. There is absolutely going to be color in there.
Oh, yeah.
And they probably put some backset in there as well.
What's
to
that?
get that kind of color, that molasses that we were talking about. There's some kind of alteration of color. Because this, I believe this is only like 3 to 5 years, and I have not seen a Jamaican rum
Not unless
young.
they're putting it in a new barrel
Yeah.
and it doesn't taste like new barrel.
So they're putting something in there to make it dark like that.
Yes.
Like
Maybe
what?
old stillage. So backset would be stillage. That would be what's left in the still after the run. Sometimes they use E150A, which is just caramel coloring made by caramelizing sugar.
Right.
Okay.
And then sometimes they add a little bit of molasses back to it to give it color.
Interesting.
You find that a lot on the cheaper. Really, that's not true. You can kind of find the added sugars and coloring all the way across the board, even into fancy stuff. I mean, there's a lot of rums that I would really love to say like they're just top notch, and then you do your research and you find out that somebody's been a little bastard and added a little bit of sugar to the barrel, or a little bit of
honestly,
color, man.
I'm a little bit mad at it. I don't love that. I don't see I'd rather have it be whatever pale color it's gonna be personally, because I'm like, that's my philosophy with tea is like I don't like when people adulterate tea, especially if it's like not out in the open, transparent. If you're gonna put jasmine flowers in your tea, then sure, great, but let people know that's what you're doing.
On the nose. This one's brighter.
Ooh,
this
buddy,
one's a little darker and richer.
There's something going on.
Yeah.
That's very different. That's I'm getting like.
That makes mine really smell fruity. This
It does.
Dark
This is
sultry.
like almost like garlicky, like some like burnt ass garlic or some like roasted garlic. There's something I don't even know. It's like. Oh, okay, I got one. You ever go to summer camp? At my summer camp, they had the blob. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay.
The blob. It's like this big balloon that you jump off a pier onto, like off like a big tall pier onto this thing, and you try to stay on where other people jump on. It's vinyl.
Right.
It smells like that.
Yes, those are actually smells. I call them rubber hose type of smell.
Yeah.
So that vinyl type of smell in the baking sun.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure that I love that. I'm gonna try it.
Hey,
But
Richard,
definitely.
what rum is this?
This one is Worthy Park 109. The 109 signifies the proof, and it's from Jamaica.
Worthy Park.
And that estate has been making rum since time immemorial. One of the first distillers on the island of Jamaica to start making rum.
That might be why I don't like it.
So they're overproof white rum, the Rum Bar, is one of my favorite overproof whites. It's an awesome price point, and then to me, being a resident of the Houston area for a little while, there's something that happens in cars in Houston where like people die and animals cook and things like that. And Worthy Park Rum Bar smells like a car trunk full of banana peels in Houston. It just like they're baked and turned black and super fragrant and almost to the point of smelling like acetone. Just like,
This is
love that
dark, caramelized banana and papaya and mango.
I'm getting coconut.
Coconut
I'm
as
getting
well?
like pina colada, sunscreen, coconut. I actually do like it a lot better than I thought I would. Smelling it, I like it a lot better drinking it than I thought I was going to smelling it. Also, it's almost exactly the same color as this
the tea, yeah.
Almost exactly the same. Look at that. Got a little bit more red in here. But
And going back to Moose's rum from Andalusia.
I finished that one. That was good. I really enjoyed that. That was, it was.
It's sweeter. It's
getting like
zippier.
I taste the maple.
Yeah.
I taste the maple.
It is. The maple's coming out now a lot more in contrast in comparison to the other two with the tea.
This is nice though. I'm surprised that I liked it as much as I do. Yeah, I'm getting coconut. I'm getting like sunscreen coconut.
All kinds of cool flavors. So those are all of those funky things that we've been trying to relate, and that's why I figured these would be good side by side to try and get an understanding.
they're so wildly different. I get stuck in my own little world working at the distillery where it's real hard for me to step outside and have other people's spirits first
Right.
of all, because my job is digging through barrels and tasting barrels. I got to taste this, got to taste this, got to taste what's
Yeah.
on the bar, make sure this tastes like what's on the bar. And then anytime I do get something, generally it's something real weird and crazy. So then just to put something like a normal rum up next to one of my rums and get to sit down and really go for
Pick it apart.
is awesome. You know, I don't have rums like that at my home liquor cabinet because I don't go to the liquor store because I work at the liquor factories.
I don't go to the tea store.
Right.
I work here.
Yeah. And sometimes I get jaded by that whole thing. I'm like, oh, you know, there's nothing else going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There is. There's all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh man, these
Yeah.
are really good side by side as a comparison, and I'm really enjoying smelling and tasting these separately because there's a lot. There are similarities, but there's definitely differences.
I liked it a lot. It was really nice, but the other one tasted cleaner.
Yeah.
And that's like when I'm like tasting tea in my job is like I'm sourcing tea to decide if we're gonna buy and sell this tea. The first thing I think about is, does it taste clean? You know, is it clean? And that's the first thing that if it doesn't taste clean, then there's nothing else to think about. You know, and, I'm not saying that's not clean. I'm just saying that first one had a cleaner. Like when I'm tasting tea, I'm like, okay, there's a clean taste. I don't know exactly how to describe that, but it's like a thing that I
Bright, crisp,
bright, crisp, and just like all the way through. You know, there's nothing stopping it. There's like the light goes all the way through it, and it had that. So it was really nice.
So Moose, is there anything about rum that you think is something that there's misconceptions or people don't seem to understand the category? Like what, if you were going to clarify and say, look for this, like what would your statement on rum be?
Try them all, because it is, if not the most distilled spirit on the planet, it is the second most distilled spirit on the planet. Every country that has any form of sugar cane has figured out how to ferment it and distill it. Whether they do it in a pot still or a little wooden still or a big column still, if they have to age it for a year and then filter all the color out of it, however they do it, every single person's or region's tastes different. So cachaça tastes way different than Jamaican rum. There are things you can make with cachaça you can't make with Jamaican rum because it's not going to taste the same. When it comes to a daiquiri, while it's going to taste awesome with a huge funky rum, tastes a lot better with maybe like a Cuban style rum or something like that. It really just depends. What was the question? I got all sidetracked.
What do you want people to know about rum that they might not know?
So don't go into it with any preconceived notions, really, because there's a whole wide world of it, and everyone's different. American rum generally is new barrel and over oaked and tannic, and all kind of just tastes like you're chewing on a log that somebody poured molasses on.
Yeah.
Until you get away from rums like that. So if you find that you don't like that rum that's big and oaky and dark, don't go buying a dark oaky rum.
Right.
Go look for something light. Experience a little bit from all the islands. Buy a bottle of Haitian rum, see how you like that, and then go buy a bottle of rum from Belize. Go buy a bottle of cachaça from Brazil. Go buy some continental rum like Smith & Cross that was made in Jamaica by Hamden.
Right.
And then, aged in Europe. Do all these different things because there's a million different types of rum. So there's continental rum, there's tropical rum, and just because, say, like Hamden made this rum, it's going to taste different if they age it in Europe versus aging it right there in Trelawney, Jamaica. So
You seemed a little perplexed there. They're still
go into it with an open mind, and just know that just because you don't like A, B, or C doesn't mean P, Q, R, or T is of the same level.
Right.
And we're going to need way more letters in the alphabet to encompass all the different ones.
So the international trade are still in effect. So you're going to have trade where rums are being shipped to England, rums are being shipped to Portugal and Spain, rums are being shipped to warehouses in France and in Holland.
And then what are their cask programs there? Are they putting them in
Exactly.
sherry casks and port casks versus...
They're getting shipped in what? They're getting shipped over in what?
Barrels, sometimes
And then
stainless
they're-
steel tankers.
Yeah.
I mean, Jamaica's pretty down to ship spirits in anything, shoe boxes, whatever. If it holds liquid, I'm sure they'll do it. Then it's very much like the Scotch industry. So most Scotch is aged in used bourbon barrels, but then sometimes it's sherry barrels, sometimes it's port barrels, sometimes
Different
it's
types of wine.
certain types of wine barrels. So that same treatment happens in the rum world too, which drastically changes everything. And then you think you know this one distillery, and like, they make this one funky rum. They've got this certain banana profile that I love, and then all of a sudden you have a Oloroso sherry cask from them, and it changes everything. And you're like, this is sunflower seeds and raisins, and where did all the funk go? It's there, but it's transformed because it's been put into this big sulfury wine cask. Just go into it with an open mind. And find what suits you, kind of like you do whiskey. If you're an Irish whiskey guy, don't go trying to drink Islay. If you're an Islay guy, don't be perplexed as to why bourbon seems flat and one-dimensional to you. If you're a bourbon guy, don't go chasing proper 12 and being like, this tastes like water.
So be open-minded.
Right.
Yeah, go into it as an explorer.
It is. It's all about exploration, man. It's I had no idea what to expect when we went into tea, but it's about flavor exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the same thing. Like people come in and like, I don't like green tea. Like, well, you might not have had a good green tea before. You might not have had it steeped right. That's what all this whole deal that we do.
Are they referencing Arizona?
Right, exactly. Or like, whatever Prince of Peace tea bag they get at the sushi restaurant. You know, a lot of people have had traumatic experiences with green tea, etc. So Corey doesn't like green. He still doesn't like green. He's had fancy green tea. He still doesn't like it. So, some people just don't. He's an Islay guy drinking, just Irish whiskey or whatever. But it's the same. And what I found is, there have been times when I've thought like, I don't like Hunan Heicha. I just don't like it. Well, I had a bad one. The one I had wasn't good, but since then I've gone and explored more, and I found ones that I do like. And I really think there's nothing. I didn't think I liked rum until I started doing this show. And we, I got to meet you. I got to meet the last rum guest that we had, and I got to try. It turns out that just dumbass mass-produced commercial rum sucks, like dumbass commercial-produced everything sucks. So
yeah, go figure.
Yeah, go figure.
So if you want to support your local distillery, head on over to the Hill Country to Andalusia Distillery. Is it called Blanco or Blanco?
Well, the color is Blanco, the town is Blanco.
Oh my goodness. See, that's the thing about Texas. It's like you're not from around here because you can't pronounce anything.
Well, and then it changes depending on what part you're on. So like down here we have the Colorado River, but if you go up towards the Panhandle, it's the Colorado River. And then you got the town of Colorado City. You've got El Dorado and Will Dorado. Or anywhere else a normal person would say Will Dorado.
Right. Well, we're dropping on Guadalupe.
Unless you're in Colorado, then it's Colorado.
Yeah.
So
one of these days, I think what we're going to have to do is take the tea house to Blanco and sit at the tasting room and have some tea with the fine folks over there.
Oh, that'd be fun. Ty would love that.
Yeah, that would be.
Ty, that's who I met.
Yep.
I met Ty. Okay, cool. At Bastard's Ball.
At the Bastard's Ball. And Tommy as well. Those are the founders of Andalusia Distilling.
And I went when I got there. And I went up to Rex and I was like, hey, I can drink maybe 3 drinks while I'm here because I got to drive. And he's told me to go to Andalusia. So he was like, there was a bunch of booths there, and I was like, I have a very limited number of beverages that I can consume today. So what should I get? And so that's how I met Ty.
And they are in love with single malt whiskeys, and they're doing some amazing triple distilled Irish. They're doing a peated. They're doing barbecue wood smoke. It's a great place to visit. Beautiful tasting room out in the middle of nowhere. And Moose is almost always there somewhere in the background. Sometimes when you're driving by, you'll catch him driving out of the driveway. He'll turn around and come back and say hi to you.
That's where I last saw you. Yes, sir.
So thank you very much for coming. And next we'll talk about American single malt and how the world of Andalusia fits into American single malt.
All right.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Thank you, Moose.
And that's a single episode.